Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm David Paul, meteorologist here at KHOU 11 in Houston, Texas. This is your Monday tropical update. The date is October the 25th. We are tumbling toward the end of October into the last month of hurricane season, November. Things typically wind down quickly at about this time of the year, and that is happening even though we do have a spot out there we're watching. There's a new disturbance off the East Coast that we're keeping an eye on. That disturbance may end up being more of a quasi-nor'easter than a true tropical system. So New England heads up. It looks like there's a lot of heavy rain headed your way next couple of days. We're going to look at that. We'll take a look at the Pacific system that's coming off the west coast as well. And this nor'easter, again, may be the most significant player on the map as we head into the beginning part of this last full week of October. As far as where we've been so far this hurricane season, we've had 20 systems, but we have not knocked Wanda off the list yet. Still have the last name on the list to go. And at the moment, I don't think this system that's trying to develop off the East Coast is going to become Wanda. So for the time being, compared to a normal season, we've had 20 named storms. The normal is 14. We've had 7 hurricanes right at normal. We've had 4 major hurricanes, 1 above normal. So that's where we stand right now as far as normal, still well behind the pace of last year. Last year, the busiest season that we've ever recorded since we've kept records for more than 100 years. That was just an incredible season, 30 named systems. Okay, if we get systems in October, usually, statistically, they happen here. Caribbean, Gulf, Western Atlantic off the east coast of the U.S. Sea surface temperatures are warmer here. You've got the Gulf Stream, which is a warm current of water, and quite often you'll get frontal boundaries that come off the east coast, and you'll get storms that spin up on them. And we sort of have that going on right now. An old boundary that came off the east coast, you can see it right here. See it coming off? Well, there's a little spin on that, and it has developed a little bit of circulation at the surface, and so that spot there off the coast of North Carolina now has a 50-50 chance of developing over the next 5 days into a tropical depression or a tropical storm, so says the Hurricane Center. But again, this is one that I really think is more of a nor'easter, more of a, quasi-tropical at best, and I'll show you why here in just a moment. But it will have impacts up the East Coast. And then in the Pacific, we do have remnants of Rick. Rick was a hurricane, came in, made landfall earlier this morning, and now moving inland into Mexico. A heavy rain threat, but that one is quickly deteriorating. However, its moisture will have impacts across the lower 48. Here's the big picture across the Atlantic Basin. Nothing brewing except you can see that spot off the East Coast. And notice how it looks like a comma, or sometimes we say like a shrimp or like a fish hook. When you see a system that looks like that, it is one that is disorganized and struggling to get going, and usually it is because it is being sheared at the upper levels, and that's exactly what's happening here. Here's another look at the infrared enhanced. 20% chance for development next 2 days, 50% chance within 5 days. There's some significant convection out here. In other words, deep thunderstorms developing at the surface, going all the way up through the vertical column, convecting up and down, convection like a boiling pot of water from bottom to top. However, that convection is not happening near any type of low-level center. It's being displaced. It's all being ripped off to the north and east by, you guessed it, the upper-level winds. These are the winds up at 250 millibars, around 30,000, 34,000 feet or so. Here's where our little entity is trying to develop a surface low, and there is a little swirl down there. But the upper-level winds are just way too strong, and they're just blowing all the clouds and convection and displacing that convection away from any type of developing low-level center. You need that convection over the center to get pressures to drop, to intensify that surface low, and that just won't happen under this type of upper-level wind flow regime. Look at this beautiful trough digging in. In addition, so we've got this upper-level trough, and it is a vigorous trough. This is a classic nor'easter setup. You've got an upper-level trough coming out of Canada, digging into the northeast. You've got a surface low that forms as a reflection of that upper trough. And what quite often happens is you get an energy transfer from that powerful upper-level trough down to a surface low, and that comes up the northeast coast, and that becomes your nor'easter. That's what I really see playing out here. However, with that trough, there's not a lot of cold air, so this is going to be a big rainmaker for New York and Boston. Let's take a moment and take a look at the two computer models. We lean heavily on the American model, the GFS in yellow, the Euro in red. They both have a swirl here, and they both have a similar outcome. Now take a look at this. New York, Boston, heads up. So this brings up this a low pressure entity up in here as we head into tomorrow night, and then just kind of slows it down. They both kind of curly Q around. So this is a nor'easter, only there's not enough cold air for snow. It's a big rainmaker. New York, Boston, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Jersey, New Hampshire, Vermont, especially you get into the mountains up here, you get that easterly flow bumping up against the mountains up here. You could see some significant rain up here in the next several days. Flash flooding is going to be a threat as we head into tomorrow night, and into Wednesday with this system. And then after that, what there is of this races back out into the open Atlantic, and then it's gone. It weakens as it heads into the open Atlantic as we head into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So this is going to be a Tuesday night, Wednesday event for the Northeast. And again, I talk about the upper level winds and how this is really a nor'easter setup. Here's the trough. These are the winds and wind flow up at 34,000 feet. I've enhanced it so you can see it more clearly. There's our lovely trough. That's a beauty. And it's a very sharp trough as well. And quite often with these you'll get these troughs at the upper levels, and then you'll get an energy transfer from the mid and upper levels down to a surface low that forms over the relatively warmer waters of the Atlantic. That heads up the East Coast, and you get an intense low pressure area, a nor'easter. And that's exactly how this is going to go. And in fact, this trough comes out here and then kind of curly cues back on itself, negatively tilted trough. That often means you're going to get some upper level divergence, the wind spreading up at the upper levels. And in fact, you can see some of that divergence. Look at this right in here. Let me change the color on this pen so you can see it better. Look at how the winds are spreading. So what this does is just take your fingers and just spread them out. What happens when you spread your fingers? You get empty space in between each finger. Empty space is a vacuum. So you get a vacuum at 34,000 feet. The vacuum cleaner way up there is going to suck that air up from the surface and helps it to rise even faster. Helps to create convection, wrings out all the energy in the atmosphere, creates heavy rain, and sometimes a severe storm threat when you get that much, especially vertical motion, upward motion through the atmosphere, heading up toward that vacuum, that empty space up there. So this is a pattern that we look for in the upper levels, that spreading out of the air to create a vacuum. And so when you get that setup, you can get very heavy rain as it tends to wring out all the available moisture through the vertical column of the troposphere. Here's a look at it as far as the rainfall is concerned and our streamlines. This backs it up to right now. Here's our little low pressure trying to form off the Carolina coast. We go forward in time into Monday night, into Tuesday, into early Wednesday morning. So Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, you get a pretty intense low pressure area out here. I mean, if this develops into if we get pressures low enough to cause this to go into tropical storm strength, I question if they're going to name it, because really this is a nor'easter setup more than a tropical setup. But you can see how we're going to get significant rain here and very gusty north wind. Notice no snow. It's not cold enough to snow with this. It is a rain event. How much rain? This is the rain over the next 3 days. It's significant. I mean, New York, New Jersey, that is a whole lot of rain. You're well into the 3 to 5 inch rain totals there, and that comes Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So it's really an 18 to 24 hour period. Getting 3 to 5 inches, heads up, this is a significant flash flood threat. It was Ida. It was the remnants of another tropical system. Was it Fred? Where we had this upper level wind pattern where they were spreading out, where they had that vacuum with height that caused that huge flash flood we had earlier in the tropical season across New York. So this is another significant flash flood setup. Too early to tell to pinpoint exactly where that heaviest rain is going to be. Models do their best. But you can see it's a threat from Atlantic City to New York all the way up to Boston. You could see 3 to 5 inches, 5 to 7 in some spots. Not out of the question. And most of that's going to fall in a 24-hour period going into Tuesday night through the day on Wednesday. While all of that is taking place on the East Coast, there's our East Coast trough. We've got a ridge in the middle of the country, big warm up. Houston had a record high, or tied a record high of 91 today. And then on the West Coast, we've got another one of these troughs. And this is what's been bringing that tremendous storm to the west, the Pacific Northwest. The mountains finally put an end to the wildfires out here, and has also been causing significant flash flooding. Very heavy snow. Now the Pacific part of this system is beginning to wind down. California's had the worst of it. Things will continue to settle down. What's really left with this is the trough comes across the country. And notice how, again, this one kind of curlicues back on itself. So there will be a severe weather threat in the deep south as we head into the middle part of the week, Wednesday. And then it transitions to the east coast. Now, when I see troughs like this, I always want to check temperatures up in Canada and see if there's any cold air available. Is this going to pull down any cold air? And the answer is no. There's not much cold air in Canada right now. Yellowknife's at 41. Kuglucktuk's above freezing. This is 8:30 p.m. on Monday night. Kuglucktuk in the end of October is above freezing. That's amazing. Churchill at 32, right at freezing. Prince Albert's 46. And these temperatures up here, 2 below at Alert, 25 in Barrow. That's cold, but it's not bitter cold by Arctic Circle standards. So this is not going to be pulling down cold air. That's why it's a rain event for the East Coast and it's not a snow event. In fact, you can really see it. Here's same model run. We're going to go back and look at this, the jet stream pattern with the rain and snow overlaid on top. The green is the rain, the pink and the blues are snow, and it's all rain for the East Coast. Here comes the snow through the Rockies next couple of days. This goes from now into Wednesday afternoon. There's your snow. You got to get into the higher elevations to get any snow out of this. The only cold air is way up high. Otherwise, it's all rain East Coast, and this is all rain. I mean, all the way from southern Canada all the way onto the Gulf Coast. You know, southern Canada, even just rain for folks there. South central Canada. We go into Thursday, transitions to the east. That's a nice dip in the jet. That's a cutoff low. That's a very rainy pattern for the mid-Ohio Valley, Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia's, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania. That's a very rainy day on Thursday, Friday. And that continues to kind of sit and slowly spin, keeps it rainy and unsettled out here through Saturday. And that's a relatively warm weather pattern going into Saturday. That's a zonal jet with one cutoff low. I don't see anything, really diving down, allowing any cold air to come south. Okay, then there's Rick. Back to the tropics. Remnants of Rick. So Rick was a hurricane, made landfall late Sunday night, early Monday morning. It's now remnants of Rick. The storm has been torn apart by the Mexican mountains. Flash flood threat as we're getting heavy rain across south central Mexico. Computers don't bring a whole lot of rain from Rick, but they do bring moisture. It's going to be picked up by that approaching trough. As that trough digs south, it's going to grab that moisture and pull it up into Texas, Arkansas. And in fact, it will be part of the moisture stream that feeds all that rain all the way up to the Canadian border. That's a lot of that's moisture from Rick. It's also some moisture coming off the Gulf of Mexico. It's not just Rick. But that is what is going to enhance the rainfall potential here. Now, because the system is very progressive, in other words, it's moving, at least in this part of the country on Wednesday, it's moving. I don't see a significant flash flood threat here. However, the jet stream pattern is a little bit conducive to some minor severe weather threats, most likely across the deep south. So from San Antonio to Houston, to Lake Charles, to Lafayette, to New Orleans, to Biloxi, also including Alexandria, Louisiana, south of Jackson, Mississippi, you've got a 2 out of 5 severe weather threat. Well, I think what we're most likely to see, and this will be Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon in Louisiana, most likely an isolated tornado threat, very isolated, not widespread, isolated tornado threat. Most likely, if we do get a tornado with this, they will be small, maybe EF0, EF1, and they will be very brief. They'll come and go very quickly, but there is an isolated tornado threat Wednesday morning through the day on Wednesday. Wednesday morning in Texas, Wednesday afternoon in Louisiana. And just zooming out, all that moisture I showed you coming from Rick and up that trough, the head of that trough, will move all the way up into Minneapolis. But at that point, you're not even on the scale. This light color green is just a general chance for a thunderstorm, below marginal chance for severe. As far as snowfall goes over the next 5 days, it's all at the higher elevations in the Rockies. As we just talked about, there's just no bitter cold air up here to be pulled south by that trough. So at the moment, the plains in the east are snow-free, all the snow falling in the higher elevations of the Rocky, where they could see a fresh 8 to 12 inches in some of the higher spots out there, Steamboat, one in particular. That is where we stand across North America and more tonight. Questions, comments, leave them. I read them. We'll see you next time for another update.